What industry attracts the wrong people and actually aren't qualified? Law enforcement. It attracts bullies who claim to want to help people, but most of them don't care and, worse, they don't have the right mentality. Of course, the job doesn't help. But the ones who end up hired are the ones who love using force on people or have a sadistic nature. They love causing problems for people. This is one of the things that has generated so much hatred for the police. They need better training and the correct attitude. Teaching right now is so hard up that it's pulling paras who have no idea what they're doing and people who think teaching might be a nice career change, though the latter has always been true. People are by and large unaware of how hard it is to teach, how much bullshit paperwork there is behind the scenes, and how much time you'll spend defending that you've done the job you've been hired to do. What I see in a lot of my co-workers is people trying to either relive or rewrite their high school days. If they were cool, then they will make sure they are the cool teacher and undermine others. Oh, you're cutting class. Cool, I'll write you a pass. People who want to rewrite will take absolute blatant pleasure in bossing a kid around and will often take advantage of the fact that admin will usually take another adult's word over that of a kid. I see lazy people abound. I have a co-worker who will give kids a 2-question worksheet to complete in a 50-minute class. More often than not, kids are watching movies in her class or she's walking them over to the gym, every day, for at least half the class. I knew a woman. Get this. She won Teacher of the Year, something that teachers self-nominate for, who didn't teach after lunch. The entire second half of the day she sent them to the gym, to specials, or let them be on computers. IT attracts a lot of people who are stubborn, inflexible, egotistical, and who have difficulty with other people. There's this impression that it's a dream field for independent workers with no desire to interact with others. It's not a realistic expectation in most cases, and especially not if you're not going into business for yourself. I know a ton of people who went into IT, and all of the ones who hated it and quit jobs constantly or changed their careers did so because they had difficulties with other people. Bosses, customers, co-workers, or a combination or all three. Greater than 90% of their complaints about work involved people, and in a lot of the complaint anecdotes the people complaining came off as just as bad as the people they were complaining about. Unless you're some sort of irreplaceable genius who will be retained and well treated no matter what or else, you're going to need to be able to tolerate other people and to treat them with respect, to obey orders from higher ups even if you disagree with them, and to accept that, at the end of the day, your company doesn't value you as a person, only as a source of labor. The tattoo industry. A lot of folks want to be pirates or rock stars and don't actually have a good work ethic. They just want to get rich and do whatever they feel like, instead of showing up on time and having their pieces ready ahead of the appointment. Also, art isn't for everyone, and that's okay, especially with the added challenge of having a moving canvas and vibrating drawing instrument. There's a lot of people who get into tattooing with zero artistic ability, and they just sort of stay there. No hate on them, just know you're where your skills lie. Gonna add this just in case, because I know a lot of folks get sensitive about this subject and like to cry gatekeeper. I'm an apprentice myself, I'm totally for new folks getting into the industry. Controversial opinion, I know. I've been working at a shop for the past couple years and I've seen people come and go at my shop and others in the area for these reasons and more. Folks who thought they were hotshots and never showed up for their appointments eventually quitting or getting fired, people lying about having an apprenticeship only to find out they're a scratcher, people with questionable ability who haven't been tattooing long deciding to take on apprentices for a laughable amount of money, etc. People who do this for the pure love of it are definitely in the minority, sadly. No idea how it's elsewhere, but in Germany it's leadership positions in kindergarten. Most of the time when those become vacant they get filled out by the personnel working there despite them being just trained as kindergartner. I know it's a tough job that requires a lot of skill, which doesn't include training to lead an organization. Some can compensate this to a certain extent, because of having experience in the field and often know the place they are working at very well, but many places suffer from lack of administrative and leadership skills. It's usually transferring someone to a position they lack required competence from a position they are competent to fill while also having huge issues to replace TAT vacancy. Before I get crucified for this one, I know some beautiful home care workers. If you are one of them, then you are a gem because in my experience you represent a minority of the industry these days. I worked in the home care sector for years, and the amount of you're not technically qualified but just make it work? That goes on is crazy. When only one person shows up for a two-person lift, when a client is being violent, when a client needs medication or procedures that a registered nurse should do that they can't afford, when one carer needs to leave a client unsupervised because the next carer hasn't shown up. On top of that, many carers are using the industry as a gig economy type of employment. They take shifts here and there in their free time and call in sick last minute if they get another gig that pays more with another company, which often leaves a patient with no one to come in and do their care. What does that mean if that client is lying in a bed full of shit? You better get used to the warm feeling of it against your skin because that's where it'll be until your family can get over there to help you out. Many will straight up ask for a financial incentive from their employer just to show up to work. Many have no actual empathy for the people they're caring for. Many jump on Uber for a ride or two between shifts, making them late for their following shift. They do the bare minimum it says on the care plan, often show up with AirPods and having a conversation with a friend, don't say a word to the client, just do their care, and then leave 20 minutes early. No check on the client's welfare, slapdash showering with no checks of skin condition, and no consideration for the client's comfort. The company can't fire them because carers are in high demand. I have seen many nurses with no care plans or medication documentation who give medicine based on what the 90-year-old client remembers her doctor telling her months ago or the tribal knowledge passed down through the 7 previous nurses who attended. There's often nothing from a pharmacy or doctor to talk about which meds, how much or why they take them. Care plans are often written like total shit because the qualification to be a case manager is pretty much nothing. To clarify, I know some beautiful people in this industry, and they know what's right, but I have seen nurses employed who say, I won't give medication until there is a clear care plan in place with medication requirements outlined properly, and I have seen them fired because the company couldn't find enough clients compliant with the regime. I have heard about carers inviting friends over to get drunk at clients' houses while they are on shift and not get sacked, and I have heard carers call in standing next to a client asking if they have to spend the whole shift there because they did everything and now they're bored.